All right, in our next story, we're going to get into. I know you've seen this guy before. He is the president of the NBFA. I believe that means the National Black Farmers Association, and they have been in the news recently because they just won a $2 billion lawsuit or whatever. It was a payout, because of disenfranchisement or whatever, and the government was shortchanging him. And so he always goes, you see him at the Capitol, he's got the black cowboy hat and he's got the horse with him, and, he's making his case. Well, that all apparently, I guess they paid off. So now, because now they're getting $2 billion. Okay. And it's going to be spread not just to black farmers. Let's be clear about that, because when you read the fine print, they say black farmers and other farmers of color. Okay. So again, it's the games again. Okay. It's the word games again. And the black face is always used as the Trojan horse in these situations. So yeah, it's not just black farmers in the actual text of it. It also mentions in other farmers of color, whoever that means. Okay. And so anyway, so that's how that works. But there's another part to this story that I didn't think about, and I thought it was quite interesting. What I'm going to do is, this is a video that I'm about to play for you. It's about a year old. I think it's about a year old. And the gentleman's name, again, his name is John Boyd Jr. And you're going to hear him talk about a policy that he was helping to push. And the irony is, it's a policy that has been very damaging to many parts of the Black American community. Let's go to the clip.
Now we're going to switch gears to some more folks who want some help. Farmers across the country are pushing Congress to pass an immigration bill. According to the USDA, 73% of agricultural workers today were born outside of the United States. It is essential work that puts food on Americans' tables. It is often done, as you see there, by folks that are not from here. Now, in this lame duck congressional session, farm workers hope the Senate will pass the Farm Workforce Modernization Act to boost the agricultural visa system. Joining us for an inside look at how this legislation could impact the farming industry is fourth-generation farmer John Boyd Jr. John, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we know that farmers and farm workers, they're taking time away from their crops and livestock so that they can lobby Congress, which I'm sure you just love. How significant would this be for farmers if this legislation is passed?
Well, this legislation is very, very important for America's farmers, especially livestock producers. And many people don't understand that livestock farmers need help year round. It's not more like seasonal work for vegetables and things of that nature. And I used to raise eggs for Purdue Poultry for 14 years. And it's 7 days a week around the clock. And it's hard to find workers, that want to do this kind of work. The real answer would be to get more Americans and more young people interested into farming and agribusiness in the United States. But it's not happening quickly enough, and farmers rely on these workers every day to help get their crops in and help maintain their farming operations. So this isn't a new bill. It's been there for a while, and it's just starting to get some headway, and hopefully it will pass shortly.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. There are not Americans that want these jobs. I mean, 73% of agricultural workers being immigrants, that is a very high number. But also, I wonder if it's lower than it really is, because that's the folks that we know about. And we also know that when you need labor, you're willing to take help from anywhere. And you might not necessarily ask those folks where they're from and how long they've been here.
Yes, and I've been farming for 40 years, a very, very long time. The average age of a black farmer in this country is 61 years of age. And the problem is we just don't have a lot of young people that are raising their hand that want to do this hard work. It's hard work, but it's the most rewarding work that you can do. Farming, the oldest occupation known to man, and the hardest occupation known to man is farming. But we need more young people to get into it and to really take some interest in where their food is being produced. And again, so these workers would be very, very vital to these farming operations. And we hope that we can get this bill moved and signed into law so that farmers can get the labor and to help keep feeding America and feeding the world is what's happening here.
So as the Biden administration considers its strategy when Title 42 goes away, as they try to look at immigration, do you think farmers are looking at this going like, no, please let more people in the country. We need more help here?
I think what really needs to happen is real immigration reform in a severe way, and not more of a patch job like we've been getting here in Congress. We're trying to get what we can to do it to kind of keep things moving along. And what we really need is a long-term fix for immigration in this country. And it's going to take both parties to come together, and it's going to take a strong leader to get some real immigration fixed in this country.
Yeah, the Biden administration is sending air marshals down to the border to help with immigration, and you're going, give me help on my farm. It seems like the two sides are pretty far apart, but we'll see if this works out. That's John Boyd Jr., a fourth-generation farmer. We thank you for joining us.
Now, isn't that something? Isn't that something? Now, but let's not beat the man up. I mean, I want us to really let's think about this for a second. Now, what he's saying here is, that there isn't enough young black people who are even interested in farming. Now, that's what he is saying. But what I would like to know is, what specifically have they done to generate that interest? Because I still don't really believe that in its entirety.
She never thought that she'd have something like this in a city pushing people out that look like her.
Having young people come here and ask me, well, who does all this? Who's the farmer? And it's like, it's me, the black woman here.
Naima Clark is the queen farmer running Nurturing Roots, an urban farm in Beacon Hill.
Finally, we need this. It shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be something that we can't access, we can't afford.
Naima is also part of a growing black farmers movement in the Pacific Northwest.
Black people have so often been, I think, just pushed out of these systems that can really benefit you as a community, and I think it's intentional.
Another black farmer, Edward Hill, has helped cultivate and grow the community of black farmers in the area for decades.
Definitely.
Edward helped create the first of its kind, a conference for black farmers called Back to the Root, happening this week.
It's just not about black folks. It's about building a larger community that is familiar with us as participants in the food system, and aren't shocked when they see you show up at that conference. They're like, oh my goodness.
I mean, we're equally as interested in food as anyone else.
Melanie Edwards, who farms on Whidbey Island, knows what it's like to be the only one.
A lot of people of color won't actually take the risk to move out into like a rural white community to farm because they don't know what's expected. When I first moved here, I kept my bags packed for a month because I didn't know if the community would accept me or if they were gonna chase me off or something like that.
Melanie is the only black farmer on this land that isn't hers.
Most farmers of color that I know of don't own land. This isn't my land. So in order for us to be able to sustain ourselves long term, we need access to land and be able to afford it as well.
That's one of the many reasons the conference will benefit local black farmers.
There's money specifically targeting black veterans, Native American veterans, farmers of color, underrepresented populations that have not been able to get into this.
Creating access is key, especially when you're doing something you love.
This is what we call a farmer watch.
It just feels so right. It feels like this is what I was supposed to be doing. I can, take control of my health and then give something to my kids and leave a legacy here in my community. So for me, it's the best thing. It's like a gift. Yeah.
With Ryan Beard, I'm Jenna Hanchard for King 5 News.
Because again, when you think about land ownership and you're working your own land and, just doing what farmers do, right? There's a lot of people out there right now that are dreaming about such an opportunity where you can live that kind of life. There's many people. You go on YouTube, you can find many people out here that literally are living in their cars, because they want to live on a off-grid, detached kind of lifestyle. And, farming work is not easy. I get that. I understand that. But I do find it a little bit hard to believe that there ain't any black folks that are interested and continuing farming. And so by default, we need to just go ahead and keep the borders open so that I can have some workers. I don't know. What do you think about that? But what I also realize with that, regardless of the truth behind that or not, the other side of that coin is by pushing that policy, well, what's going on. All right. There's a story that was I just read about a few days ago. Well, just recently, capital murder, that was committed by two Venezuelans and down in Texas. I think it was involved a 12-year-old girl. And man, and then I also read this other story again, Venezuelans in Aurora, Colorado. Same thing. They're dealing with the whole gang situation. And so although it's not the entirety of, Black American community, the demographic, there are many Black Americans who are being adversely impacted by illegal immigration. So is it worth that? Would you double your efforts and say, hey, listen, Black folks, I need help with these farms? Or you just saying, you know what, screw that. It's a lot easier for me to get some people down, coming from, the border. And let's cut the crap and let's be honest here. A lot of these employers, the reason why they want people coming from the southern borders is because you can pay them a lot less. Let's be true, sir, Mr. Boyd. Let's be true. Let's be honest here. And because a lot of employers, they know that they can pay these individuals a lot less, number one. And then number two, you can work them to the bone, basically. And there's many cases there's stories all over the place of particularly farmers who are taking advantage of these individuals that are coming from these other countries to work in these on these farms. And then you have a couple of farms that have gone through the court system because, again, they're being sued on the mistreatment of the poor treatment that they're getting. Yeah, just because Mr. Boyd is Black, I can't exclude him out of that. You understand what I'm saying? So again, I understand completely the whole tale on that one. And that is, it's a lot easier for him to do that, to go with people who come in from the southern border because he can pay them a lot cheaper. Okay, so that's the other side of it. And that's the part that you probably ain't going to hear him mention that, so but as far as his claim that there aren't, too many Black people today that's willing to take up that mantle of farming, I have a difficult time believing that. I really do. I think he's leaning more on the fact that he can pay people a lot cheaper, and like a lot of farmers, that's what they're doing. So anyway, that's just me. But I thought this was really interesting because this is a part of that whole Black farmer story that's been left out. This is the first time I'm hearing of it.